Hey, oh, was that my intro? That's my intro?
Yeah.
Do it. All right. I got my intro. Hey, this is an awesome. Unmute everybody. Please unmute and come with me. Melissa, everybody unmute so I can hear you. I want to hear all of you. I can't. It's weird if I can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
Yes, now I can hear you. I want to hear the calamity. I want to hear the dogs in the background, the chickens. We got a bunch of chickens during quarantine, so my yard, the Dia de los Muertos, is the one day that my yard looks like it's I did it for the holiday. It's just dogs and chickens running around, and I look like I live in a small town just outside of another small town in Mexico. When I got this, oh, by the way, I wanted to say, Thomas, this tequila talk was amazing to me. I loved it. Thank you. And thank you for not telling the lie that I was told for years that tequila is not a depressant, that it's a stimulant, which I don't know if, have you heard that? That it's not, it's like different than other alcohols. It's a stimulant, not a depressant. That's a lie. I looked it up, but I never told anybody I had told previously. So they probably still think it's a stimulant, not a depressant. So when you're feeling down, have a whole bunch of tequila and see how it works out. Yeah. Also, I wanted to say that pulque got a bad rap. That was really interesting. Sort of like when they vilified hemp and marijuana and all that stuff, and for the lumber industry, they did it for European beer. They said that pulque had been made with feces, with human feces. Did you say? And,
yes.
And cow poop.
Yes.
Which is BS, right? And which is ironic because it was BS, but also it's European beer that's probably fermented with that. If you've ever had Heineken, that's really the only data we have that can prove that is Heineken. Also, the worm you said was for marketing purposes. Basically, it was visual. Blame the marketing department for the worm. That's hilarious. I wish I was at that meeting where the worm was the least weird choice to put in the product. They're like, well, we could use the pinkies of criminals. Do you want to do that? No. How about a cockroach? No. Eyeballs? Nah. How about a worm? Yeah, let's just go with worm. I got to get out of here. Also, the towns of Parmesan are associated with Parmesan cheese, which is cool. I hadn't thought of that, Thomas, but I do know that tequila is from tequila because my friend has Number Juan tequila, which is a really good tequila, and they and I'm not even joking. That's a real tequila, Number Juan, and it's made in tequila, and I knew about that town, but there's like all these towns in America that that aren't really known for, like, there should be, like, I wonder if there's got to be in Kansas, there's got to be a town called Meth. Is what I'm saying. And that's where you get the best meth. But I don't know. I'm just guessing. Here's the deal. I love these theme shows. They're so important to me because you guys are friends to me now. You know me. And I loved the Kentucky Derby one. And so now I sit down with Liz. Melissa's moved into a yacht and she's pretending with the background that it's not a yacht, but she doesn't do this anymore. So I sit down with Liz, and Liz, she's incredibly persuasive, and she will, you know this, she's a power delegator. So yeah. So here's what happened. She said on this last one, I got your theme. And I'm like, all right, here we go. She goes, okay, your comedy theme this time, death. I was like, okay, well, I think I've run into this before. This is a dicey topic for comedy. Sometimes you make a joke about Abe Lincoln and people are like, too soon, man. So you never know where the line's drawn. And so and then she goes, don't worry, you'll be fine. Cause she's a persuasive person. It's Dia de los Muertos. And I was like, oh, good. It's in another language. Well, that checks two of the comedy no boxes. Death and a second language. So, I did what you do when Liz convinces you can run the whole company after a 15-minute conversation on the phone. So I sat down with my notepad and I buckled down and I said, all right, here's the deal. My blanket's falling off. Sorry. I'm gonna focus. So I settled in and I got my pen and my notepad and I sat there and stared at my notepad for a couple hours and then I fell asleep. And right. And I woke up to a bunch of notes and a bunch of drool, possibly a worm. Then it occurred to me after sifting through this stuff, that it's not the death that's funny. It's the life, the living people interpreting what the dead people need and as their offerings. This is funny structurally. It's the offerings, the ofrendas that are food for people who don't have digestive systems anymore. Perishables for the perished. Like they're putting fruit and tamales and this. It's basically a party for flies. It's a fruit fly celebration, and the thing is, they also do, like you said, tequila. They put tequila and some illicit substances. Like if Uncle Guillermo just really loved the ladies, we got the pinup girl up there. We got the cigarettes. It's not like, family friendly, some of these things, because Uncle Guillermo was not family friendly. So they don't want the stuff to go bad, right? So they gotta hey, we gotta take care of some of this stuff and drink the tequila, smoke the cigarettes, and look at the pinup girl because they want to honor the dead. So really, it's the living sinning and blaming their ancestors, which we've been doing for generations in therapy. Think about it. This is a perfect premise for a party. I love this idea for a party. Could you imagine if we had a holiday like that? The cops show up at your party and you're like, "Excuse me, officer. We're trying to honor the life of my great-great-grandfather who fought in World War I. He was a veteran and he was a deacon at his church, and he was the patriarch of our family, the founder of our company business, and a creator of generational wealth. And we have to honor him. If you could leave, please, so that we could smoke these cigarettes and drink this massive amount of tequila while looking up naked women." Maybe opium is the joke there because it was World War I, but I don't know. I just think the offering should be more fit to the people and what they needed, maybe what would have kept them from dying. Maybe like Natalie Wood's family could put water wings, or Abe Lincoln, a Kevlar helmet. See, too soon. See how it feels too soon for both of those? JFK, bus pass, Uber gift certificate. See, it's just a dicey. All right. Then I got to thinking, what should my offerings be, and who will put them there as my kids? My wife and I have 3 kids, and we're thinking about having less kids. Because we go on these dates, and that's always the topic of conversation, is how much money we'd have if we didn't have children. And if we didn't have children, how much time we'd have. That's the whole conversation during our dates. And my wife always says, "Well, we learn so much, having kids." And I say, "Yeah, we'd be rich and dumb. That's the best way to be rich." Who wants to be rich and smart? There's all the guilt. You're just mired in guilt, and you have to do philanthropy work so you can sleep at night. That's a waste. I'd rather be dumb and rich, and you learn about all the people that are in need and that don't have enough because there's finite resources, and all you think is, well, then let them look at my yacht. That makes me happy. I'm rich and dumb. So it'd be my kids. It'd be my kids putting up the offerings. And by then, at that point, they'll probably think that I was stupid for liking the first generation of Oculus Rift goggles. They'll be like, "Let's put his first gen Oculus Rift goggles on the mantle because he loved those. They're so stupid. You could barely get in the metaverse with these." And it'd be hell. I don't like any of this stuff. I just want the basics. So I thought about it. I want tamales and tequila. It's a 3,000-year-old tradition. Why mess with it? I'm going to be so drunk when I'm dead. And I'm going to be and you can't get gas from tequila or from tamales when you're dead. And if you did, that's some serious record-breaking gas. All right. I guess it'll all depend on how I die, because that's what I'm getting at, is I think it's got to represent something there. So, and I had to research weird deaths to do all this. I was researching weird deaths. That's what I found myself doing because of your theme. Thank you for that, by the way. I found some good ones. You may not want to ever do this, by the way. Don't ever research weird deaths, but I'll curate to a couple. You want me to do this? You want to hear a couple?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tennessee Williams. Do you know about him? Do you know how he died? You know, the playwright, famous playwright, died choked on a barbiturate cap. a cap from the barbiturates that he was taking. And they'd always told him those are going to kill you. And he's like, no, they won't. And they didn't, but they kind of did, which is awesome. So the other one, and my favorite by far, is the Great Molasses Flood of 1919. And you're going to think I'm making this up, but this happened in North Boston. Has anybody heard of this? No? Okay, this is amazing. There was a flood. It was the Boston Molasses Disaster, they called it, or the Boston Molassacre. That's not me. That's what it said. A large storage tank filled with over 2.3 million gallons of molasses burst and flooded the streets of North Boston. 150 people injured, 21 killed. 21 people killed in a molasses flood, which you want to be sympathetic, but I mean, 300 people were in the line of this thing and 21 died from this surprise eventuality, I guess is how you'd put it. And what a sweet death, by the way. Can I use that pun? 21, which answers the age-old question, what percentage of human beings can't outrun a molasses flood? Percent. That's high. That's really high. Actually, that much molasses, just so you know, I'm using some poetic license here. That much molasses breaks the stereotype. Here's what happened. A 25-foot wave of molasses moving at 35 miles per hour swept through the streets, which is probably why 21 people died, because they were confused. They were like, wait, slow as, no, it goes slow as, that can't be molasses. So in closing, I would just like to say that these offerings that we give, I think we need to think about what we want. I know what I would want, and I want to offer one to our fallen leader. I don't know where he is. But he's not here with us today. So I think we should all put a big S for Jacques, who never had an S at the end of his name in life. And to honor him wherever he is today, because he's not here, put an S somewhere in your home. And I think some of you don't know this, and maybe you do if you've heard this before. Jacques has no S at the end of his name because his father didn't know that the French way of spelling it is an S at the end. So yeah, it's French if you don't speak French. If you speak French, that's not a French name, unless it's possessive, which I've always find is very funny and ironic that the only time his name is French is when you refer to it as Jacques' non-French name. That's when it becomes French. So with that irony, I leave you, and I thank you for your time. Adios, muchachos.
Adios. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you.